at this moment, I would like to introduce you Barnabás Tóth, the director of the movie Those Who Remained, that you could see during the weekend, which is a fascinating movie. And I'm very, very grateful to Barnabás that he accepted our invitation. So, hello, Barnabás.
Hello, Heidi. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very happy to be with you virtually now.
And I'm the lucky one who can ask questions, which is kind of unbelievable. I'm the biggest lover of this movie, seriously. And a few months ago, I couldn't imagine that I will have the chance to ask questions from you. So it's wonderful. Thank you for a partnership to create this great personal experience for me. So how to start? Actually, I don't know how many of you know who saw the movie that it's an adaptation of a novel. The novel came out in 2004, and the writer is a psychologist, a lady, and for her, that's her first literary work. She wrote several studies on the psychological field, but this is her first literary piece. And I'm very curious, how did you meet this novel or the lady, and what was your inspiration to work with this literary material? How did you become enthusiastic about the whole story?
I first knew Zsuzsa, the writer, because we had a theater project together. She was on stage as a psychologist, and I was there as an improvisational actor. We've been working together for a couple of years. And one day she was talking about this novel she wrote. That was years after the publication. I didn't hear about it. This novel didn't have a big I don't know, echo or big success in the books, in the bookstores or in the bestseller list. But I took it home and I was very curious, and I fell in love immediately with these wonderful characters. This doctor who is so loving and so, you know, is like a hero in my eyes, and this little teenage girl, and this very complex relationship that they have. So I thought that could be a movie one day. It's an intimate drama. It's not an expensive movie. So I found a producer, and we applied here and there, and it took a couple of years, as it often does in film industry, to get a film produced. But finally, it's been made with the help of the Media Council here in Hungary. So yes, that was how it was born.
And how did this whole process go? I mean, I think it's a challenging cooperation when you have a writer and you would like to create a movie from that. So what were those points where you felt that it was hard to agree on certain things, or maybe some specific scenes in the movie? Because I think there were so many powerful and many controversial moments when I can imagine that there was some discussion behind between you. So I'm very curious, like, what were those?
Yes, well, the collaboration was not always peaceful between her and me.
I mean, I imagine.
There is a mean saying that a good writer is a dead writer. Fortunately, she's alive, and she's when we're friends now, but we were not always friends during the procedure. But I was committed to get her involved. Not only, I mean, I wanted the draft that I wrote to be approved by her in a way, but we didn't succeed, because a draft of a movie is very dry. It's technical. It's only the dialogue and the things that we see. But you know, you cannot imagine the actors. You cannot imagine the music. Even I couldn't really imagine everything before production. So she felt that I killed so many things in her book because I had to leave out so many characters and events, even years. A movie is very different. And she was not experienced enough. I wasn't experienced enough. But still, she had trust in me. She had her approval that, okay, let it be a movie. And at worst case, if she doesn't like the movie, she will say, you know, it's based upon my novel, but it's not my child. And also I wanted her approval for the casting somehow. I wanted I wanted her to be happy with the girl and the doctor, and we kind of chose them together in a way. I had a great casting director, but also she had her saying in this. So after a Cold War or a silent war, when she saw the movie finally, she was very happy because she, you know, as I said, the movie is different, and although things are a bit different in the book and in the movie, she's more than happy about it, and I'm relieved. You know, I didn't want our friendship to be menaced.
Sure. Actually, I read several interviews also with her and her perception about the work together and what came out. And I think when we saw this movie, we cannot not to talk about that intimate, or maybe I can say like sexual tension that there is behind between the two main characters from the beginning. And I think that from a perspective of a psychologist, it's much more complex. And it's a very big challenge for you as a director to work with this fragile material. So I would like to ask you, how could you touch this very, very sensitive topic that from a psychological perspective, I think it's something that we have to accept, that traumas can create those relations that maybe from another artistic perspective, it's not so available. So there are two different, totally different approaches. And how could you agree on those parts?
Well, it's a very complex issue and question, and of course, I was very much interested and intrigued by this aspect of the movie. I was always, even before knowing this novel, I was always attracted to stories between elder men and younger women, especially when there is no explicit sexuality between them. So, for instance, for me, Lolita is questionable from an ethic or moralistic point of view. But if you take Léon the Professional or some French movies like The Stepfather, when relations remain purely platonic, or as you say, like, so first of all, I have to say that in the book it's dealt in a different way. In a way, it's more because there is a key moment, a key scene, the night scene when the police comes for the neighbors, right, and they think that they come after them, and there's almost something between them. But in the book, it's different. There is sexuality between them in that moment, but from his side, it's more like an educational. He thinks that he's taken. He thinks that he's a dead person now. And before dying, he shows what a body of a young girl is capable of, because she doesn't have any sexual experience. So as a stepfather, as a gynecologist, as a doctor, he shows, you know, orgasm, you know, with his hand or something like this. But even saying this is so much destroying every illusion or every kind of, it's, you know, so showing it on screen, it's impossible. It was out of question from the very first moment. It's a great part in the book, but I couldn't do this on screen. It would have been a different movie. We shot a version where they kiss, but even that was too much on the editing room. We decided unanimously that it's, you know, they deserve more. And I'm happy with the result, because in this case, Aldo, the doctor, is even more heroistic, because yeah, he could resist if there was any kind of temptation, which can be excused by the historical circumstances, by the family background, by this extreme condition of terror and fear. Even in these conditions, he could remain a man, a hero. Yes.
And how was it to work with the male character for you? Sorry for saying, but you are kind of the same age. So I imagine that maybe to relate to the male character, maybe it was different for you than to work with the main female character. So what was your connection with that role? I'm very interested.
Yes, as collaborators, I was surrounded by women. The book was written by a woman. The producer is woman. the co-screenwriter is a woman, the casting director, everybody was women around me, and I'm very happy about it. I love to work with women, but as you might have guessed, Heidi, and I guess the question was something relating to this, that I could probably more identify myself to the doctor. I have the same age, you know, same sex, same I don't know, some parts of our probably psychology is the same. So when I wrote the screenplay, I was more thinking about the doctor's character, but it was so well written, the book and the dialogues, that you know, I just had to adapt all the dialogues and all the female parts, including Erzsi or Clara or even Olgi the aunt. I mean, they were perfectly ready for screen characters. But for me, if you ask me, I think it's more the movie of Aldo, because many reasons, but I think his part is more tragic, and the movie begins with him, and he by the end he's almost as destroyed as in the beginning. And you know, it's always more tragic, because for Clara the ending is more happy, and she has her whole life ahead, and she's a healthy young lady by the end. But him, I'm not sure. And you know, authors are always more attracted to drama than to comedy, probably, or to happy endings, unfortunately. Sadistic people we are.
Thank you. As you know, we are a global Jewish family, so I would have some Jewish related questions as well, or maybe just one, and then let's see if others have questions as well. So what was the perception of the Hungarian Jewish community of this movie? Because it's not that obvious, in my opinion. I had the chance to talk to many of the community members about this movie, but did you had some surprising feedback from people that maybe had very similar stories in their families, among their parents? Because for them, I think to watch this movie, it can be very, very
painful,
difficult, or
yes.
a complex feeling, because it has its positive message, and maybe people had positive experiences later on, but still going back to the first years. So
I'm not sure the reaction of Jewish audience would have been different from the non-Jewish ones. I think they were happy about the fact that it's a movie which focuses on positive feelings and on the aftermath of the Holocaust, because as Zsuzsa, the writer, says on the cover of her book, we've seen so many times the horrors that were committed, and the victims, and the camps, and you know, collecting the Jews, and the trains, and the David stars and everything. But this movie is dealing from a different perspective as the novel deals. It deals with the power of love, and with how to deal with trauma, and how to heal after such traumas, if it's possible, if it's even possible. So I think those Jewish people who are ready to see such movies, because I know many who just don't want another movie. But this is not another movie about the Holocaust, and I didn't want to make one. I couldn't, but it has some universal issues which might be related to any kind of trauma, let it be accident or illness or any kind of loss of another person. So I hope that it has a meaning which is more universal than any kind of Jewish content. I'm not Jewish, for instance, myself. I'm not. So I hope, and I know that it can affect. This movie can affect any other communities as well than Jewish communities. So yeah, that's my. I'm not sure if it's an answer, but that's what came to my mind right now.
Anyway, thank you. So I would have dozens of more questions, but maybe our participants would like to ask from you. I'm kind of sure that they do. So please
Yeah.
make a sign somehow, Marcy.
Well, you can raise your hand and there are a few of us looking for you, or you can put it in the chat box. But we have had a question. Can you tell us the name of the book and the author? And I wonder if it's been translated into English.
Actually, I was looking for the proper translation, but I didn't find it.
Yeah, it's never been published yet. It has been translated. I have the Word document on my computer, so in English. So if somebody is very interested, through Marcy or through Heidi, I can send them the transcript. The title would be, if I would translate it literally, it would be something like "Girl's Book of a Man's Time" or something like this. And the author is Zsuzsa F. Varkonyi. We are searching for a publisher, actually. She's searching for a publisher in US or UK. So if you know anybody in the business, the translation is ready. So you don't have to pay for it anymore. You just have to print it. So she would be very happy if it would ever appear on English territory.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Questions?
I know that Marcy had some questions as well. So
Sure, put me on the spot. Well, Hetty, you asked one of my questions already at the beginning, and I find it interesting because we have this partnership book club as well. And right now we're reading this book called Anna and the Swallow Man. And there are some parallels with the film, Those Who Remained. And there seems to be this older man, and I don't mean old, but older man and young girl navigating this time together. And I'm just wondering, and anybody can join in here if they've read the book as well. There's some, were there many instances of men helping these young girls out, or were there women helping we're just seeing two at the same time? Does that question make sense? It's just so parallel.
You mean that period after the World War?
Yes.
I don't know that novel that you talked about, so I didn't read it. I don't know where the parallels, but I'm not sure there were cases like that. This novel that my movie was based on is based on true characters that existed in her life, in the writer's life, but they are more like mixture of existing characters. Like there was no such Aldo as in the movie, or no such Clara, but some members of her family were like that, and she took two of the family members and she mixed them, and that's how it came out. So I don't know if this older man, younger girl was like a tendency. Many Jewish orphans were adopted by non-Jewish people or by other Jewish people that were before not related as a family. But I don't know about that kind of complex relationship, if it existed. Probably I don't know.
I guess that was the question. Did people who had lost their family look to finding children who had lost their parents? So you answered
Yes.
that. We do have a couple of questions here. The first one is, could you talk about Aldo's reaction to the death of Stalin?
At the end of the movie. Yes, I think him being so devastated and sad and touched and sad at the end of the movie is not really because of the news of the death of Stalin. I think he's maybe even if there is a ray of hope after 53, I think he's more realistic than that. I don't think he hides. He's chasing for illusions about Hungary being soon liberated or something like this. I think he's disturbed, and he's almost crying mainly because of losing Clara. I think that's much more on a personal level, her sadness at the end of the movie, because Clara is starting her life with Pepe, with that boyfriend. He's not crazy about that guy. He's living with Erzsi. He only called that woman Erzsi because he wanted Clara to be away from him, because this relationship was impossible at that time, and he wanted her to become her own life. So he separated from Clara almost artificially. So it was a huge sacrifice from him. He became this kind of Sunday stepfather, but seeing this beautiful young lady and her former stepdaughter, it's just too painful for him. I think that's my own solution, but I'm happy if anybody has other solution. I didn't want to be very explicit, very didactic about the story at the end. I wanted everybody to take home his or her own solution or home story. Yes.
Thank you. We have another question from Karen Moskowitz. Did the movie play only in a Jewish film festival in Budapest or in the mainstream theater system?
No, it was played in the mainstream theater system. We had over 35,000 viewers, which is not bad for an art house Hungarian movie. But after the coronavirus, stopped the career. And in US, it was played mainly in Jewish film festivals. You have much more Jewish film festivals than we do. We have only one in Budapest, and that's it. But in the US, they have one in Alaska or Texas or everywhere. And I have a great distributor, Menemsha Films. I'm sure you know them, Neil Friedman, and he's doing a terrific job for this movie. So I'm very grateful to him.
Okay.
Well, on my first trial, when I wanted to watch the movie and it was on the third or fourth week, I went on Tuesday evening, and it was sold out in one of the biggest cinemas. So yeah,
great.
It everywhere around the city. Yeah.
So we have another question. Was the role of Olgi the same in the book as it was in the movie? I am wondering if you mind why Clara failed to thrive while living with Olgi. So
yes, it was more or less the same. Yes. So I didn't change too much things about Olgi, actually.
Okay. Next question. I am wondering if it was easy to come back from the camps and then go back into medical practice like Aldo did.
Yes, the book is more talkative about this. For example, when Aldo came back from Auschwitz, he was like a skeleton, like 42 kilograms. I don't know how much is it in pounds, but really, really dying, as all the prisoners. And it took him months and months to recover, but still for years, he didn't accept deliveries. Like, I don't know how you call it, like baby birth. I don't know in English. I mean, he was only practicing as a sole gynecologist, but not assisting to birth, because he was just unable because of his two dead boys. So yes, I changed it. My movie begins with the birth scene because I wanted to confront him to this thing. So I cheated a little bit.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Our next question, what was the thought or idea being conveyed in the very last scene when Clara is riding the bus or the tram looking out the window?
Nothing specific. I don't know where she's going. I wrote in the script that it's a bus, it's a cloudy day. Clara is looking out the window, the camera approaches her face, and the sun comes out from the clouds behind her. And we started shooting. It was a cloudy day. The camera approached her face and the sun came out. So I thought I have to keep this scene, even if it doesn't make, you know, extra sense or it's not specific about where she's going. I think it gives the viewer a more happy feeling about her, at least.
I know in the US, we want an ending. You didn't give that to us.
Yeah, I know about the European ending. I gave it a European ending.
Yes,
I'm
you did.
aware. I know.
All right. Another question is, when Clara was very sick, Olgi opened a door and Aldo's back was to him, to her, I guess. Was he praying at that moment? It seemed he was swaying as if he was praying. And he did say at one point that he had been religious prior to the Holocaust.
He had been religious, yes. His father was a rabbi, so he was very religious, practicing and everything. And then he lost his, not only his religion, but his faith, actually, in the camps, and because of the loss of his family. But then Clara gave it slowly, step by step, slowly back. And when she's very sick, Clara is very sick, effectively, yes, he is praying in the kitchen. And Olgi is very happy because finally there is a man at home who is praying for somebody. But I'm not sure that his full religion and full faith is given back. I think he just cries out for God because it's big trouble situation. But otherwise, I think he's not. He does not become as before, as believer as before.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have more if you don't.
Excellent. Keep going.
What is your main takeaway from the whole process of making this movie? I mean, something that remains in you and that you think that you will use also in other movies, or something that specifically inspired you by the story, by the cooperation with the author of the book?
For me,
Like one thing,
as
the most remarkable thing that you're taking out from this whole process of creating this movie?
As a filmmaker, you mean? As a filmmaker?
As a filmmaker, but also as a person, you know. We are friends here, so you can take a hat that's comfortable for you at this moment and answer as you want.
Not as if I had anything to hide about this. I was just, because for a filmmaker it's an easier answer, because it's, I think the success of a movie is about choosing the right collaborators and the right casting. And I was so lucky to have these wonderful actors and actresses and this cameraman and this composer. So it was a great ensemble. I only had to, you know, choose them and then finally make some decisions, but it's really a teamwork. It's not the diplomacy that makes me saying this. It's fact. So you know, it's if you have a great crew, you have almost, and a great script, then you have a great film. As for a person, I'm happy about. It's again, it's something for a filmmaker, but I left things on a low key, on very maybe how you could, on a delicate level. I didn't show or say or make or express things which were too obvious or too open. And it's great if I leave for the audience some space for their own interpretation. It's great when a film can communicate with the audience. You know, I'm not saying that the people have to leave the theater like, what was this about? I don't understand anything. You know, it's not what I'm saying. It's what I'm saying is that if you can put something from your own life, from your own experience, from your own past, from your own surroundings, it's great, because then my movie becomes richer in your head. So we can make the movie together with the audience. So I'm happy that I succeeded because so many people responded differently for the movie, and I'm happy to hear everybody's own interpretation of this film.
Thank you. We have a couple questions. Marnie?
I thought it was a marvelous movie. I think it was just excellent. And I like the fact that some of it was open-ended. I was impressed by the fact that the young girl, I don't remember all the names except Aldo and Clara, the the relationship between the aunt and the young girl really got held together by Aldo. She was so angry, and watching the process of seeing some of that anger dissipate because of their relationship and how he kind of helped her through that. It was just very well done. And I like the open-ended ending. It was interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Marnie. We have another question, and you may have mentioned this in the beginning. How did you, if the book has not been published, so how did you find it?
Well, it was not published in English. Of course, it's published in Hungarian.
Okay, got it. Thank you. The next question is, what else would you like to happen with the film at this point? I mean, what distribution-wise, and what are you working on now?
Well, what I would like to happen with this movie is it's been released theatrically in the US. It would be great. And I know Neil is working on it, but as you might know better than I do, it's a very difficult situation, and we don't know when people are going to be willing to go back to theaters. So we'll see. We're waiting. We don't want to put it on internet, on streaming or something like this. We still hope that it will be released. And about my next projects, I'm not sure yet. I have things on my table. I have things in my mind. I have scripts that I've written in my drawer, and I have scripts that I was offered to direct. So I have, in Hungary, in my country, there is only one way to finance a movie. It's the Film Institute, actually. There is no public investment or public money in film. So the committee will decide which are their plans with me. I have also some projects on the international level, but it's very hard. It's very hard to get a film financed on the international level if you are not experienced or don't speak great English, or don't, it's hard for a director like me from such a small country.
Well, now that you've met all of us, you have to keep us up to date on your next project. So the next question is, what kind of research did you do for this movie, aside from the book?
I had complex research a lot. I've been reading a lot of books about not only the Holocaust, but about this dictatorship that the communists introduced in late 40s and 50s. But also I was communicating with a lot of people, experts, not only historians, but not only survivors of the Holocaust, but for instance, the look of the film, the production design was made by a very experienced and great person, Laszlo Rajk, who's the mastermind behind the Béla Tarr movies, or behind Son of Saul, or behind 1945, that some of you might have seen, this black and white Hungarian movie from 2 years ago. So they also talked about how an apartment looked like, how people were dressing, what was a cinema like, street. So again, collaboration with great people, and watching a lot of movies, inspiring movies from this, either from this era, either from this older man, younger woman relationship.
It's interesting because the next question touches on this a bit. It's really more of a statement that the film was wonderful, touching, psychologically true movie. And Sonia loved the delicate way you showed instead of told the story.
Thank you. Thank you. I really trust the faces of people. And I always, if I can choose between verbal or non-verbal solution, I leave out the dialogue and I just show reactions or facial expressions. It's much richer, I think, than words.
It makes you want to interact more and really engage and watch it instead of just listen. Yes. The next question from Michelle is, does the Hungarian Financing Committee have any pro or con attitude towards Holocaust-themed films?
This committee has recently been changed this January. The one before didn't have specifically any pro or against. We had relatively many films about the Holocaust in the past 10 years. From now on, I don't know yet. I haven't seen the first decisions of them. I guess they are a bit more pro-government, pro-Orban probably than the one before, but Orban doesn't mean anti-Semitic necessarily, so I don't know yet. It's not only a political decision, it's also a market decision. I mean, even I have this opinion that there are sometimes too many films about the Holocaust. I mean, it's like, why making one more which is not a bit different? I mean, if you deal with this topic, you have to be a bit on cinema. I mean, cinema. I don't talk about literature or museum or history books or anything. I talk about films. I think you have to have a new approach somehow, like Son of Saul did, or somehow, or like the novel of Zsuzsa Farkonyi, my movie, this novel had somehow change the narration. Yes.
Thank you. So Karen asks, how old was the Clara actress? She seemed old at times and young at times.
Yes, she had this great ability to change. like Aldo says, she can be anything between 5 and 70. She was 19 at the shooting, still in high school, last year at high school. So she could play from 16 to 22, 23 easily. She has this great face. And with some makeup, with some hair change, you can believe many ages for her. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Hedy, another question for you.
The last one or the last 10?
A last couple. We've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I have a kind of, I don't know, maybe closure style question, but it doesn't mean that if you have anything else, you cannot ask. So what is the, let's say, core message that you wanted to give us with this movie? And you're right, it doesn't matter who's Jewish, who's not, where we are in Budapest, wherever, but what did you want from us to take away? If I asked you, what did you take? So what did you want the audience?
I think the main message is that any kind of trauma or loss is survivable if you have someone to take care of. And for instance, there is a scientific proof that elder people who have a dog or a cat live longer than those who do not. Even I talk about just one company, an animal. So if you are able to love somebody, and if you are able to, which is not obvious, of course, but if you manage to find somebody, then life is livable.
Thank you. Anyone else?
One last question. Okay. I want to thank, before I throw it back to Sharon, I want to also thank you very much for this opportunity. it brought the film alive in many more ways. And we'll look forward to seeing and hearing more from you as well. And
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you. And